The air over Nevada shimmered with heat that afternoon, August 17th, 2009. At 3:42 p.m., the Mirage Dunes Casino was alive with its usual cocktail of laughter, neon, and danger. But behind the slot machines, in a service corridor that smelled of bleach and cheap perfume, two men in delivery uniforms were already rewriting the night's history. Eddie Kavanaugh and Liam Brooks weren't killers then. At least, not yet. They'd spent 3 months studying the casino's rhythms. Every Wednesday, around 3:30 p.m., the private vault room, a discreet operation hidden behind the maintenance wing, received cartel cash from a laundering front in Arizona. Between 3:30 and 3:40, that money sat unguarded for less than 8 minutes. And that's all they needed. They entered with forged IDs, hauling a metal cart marked Linen Services. Inside the stacked sheets, an industrial-grade bolt cutter, plastic restraints, and 2 loaded Glocks. When the doors sealed behind them, the noise of the casino faded. Cameras blinked red lights in silence. Eddie checked his watch. "We're ghosts now," he whispered. 2 minutes later, the alarms would have screamed. But by then, they were gone. They slipped through the loading dock unnoticed, uniforms soaked with sweat, pushing the cart toward a waiting yellow taxi. The driver, a middle-aged man named Ray Mendoza, smiled and said, "Airport." Liam nodded, sliding into the back seat. "Keep driving. Straight out of town." By the time the first security guard noticed the empty cash drawer, they were already 5 miles into the desert highway, 3 duffel bags heavy with $3 million in untraceable cartel cash. The air smelled of hot asphalt and motor oil. Ray glanced at the rearview mirror, noticing the glint of the black duffels. "You boys movers or something?" "Something like that," Eddie said. A nervous silence filled the cab. The radio hummed low country static. Ray tapped the steering wheel, then said it again, softer this time. "You're not running from something, are you?" Liam's hand drifted toward the glove compartment where his Glock sat under a towel. Eddie shot him a warning look. "Just drive." Archive, dispatch log, Nevada Highway Patrol, August 17th, 2009, 4:10 p.m. Caller reports possible armed robbery at Mirage Dunes Casino. Suspects fled in unknown vehicle. Requesting roadblock along Route 27 towards Silver Basin. But there was no roadblock. Not for another 30 minutes. And that half hour would make all the difference. The taxi sped down the cracked desert road. The sun was sinking, painting the sand blood orange. Eddie sat still, lost in the thought of escape. Mexico, new names, quiet lives. He didn't notice Ray's eyes flick toward the rear view one too many times. Ray had 2 kids in Reno. He wasn't a fool. When he spotted the patrol car lights far on the horizon, he made his choice. He pressed his thumb to the small panic button under the meter, the one connected to the cab company's silent alert system. A faint click echoed under the dash. Liam heard it. "What was that?" he snapped. "Just the AC," Ray lied, forcing a grin. Liam leaned forward, eyes sharp. "Pull over." Ray froze. "Why?" "Because I said so." The taxi rolled to a stop in the middle of nowhere, 10 miles from Silver Basin. Wind hissed through the open desert. The heat was unbearable. Eddie's voice cracked. "Liam, don't." The first shot tore through the windshield. Ray slumped forward, his hands still gripping the wheel. The second shot came a heartbeat later, quick, mechanical. The sound vanished into the sand. Then silence. The 2 men dragged the body out, laid it behind a cluster of sagebrush. Eddie couldn't look. Liam didn't hesitate. "We didn't have a choice," he muttered. But Eddie knew that wasn't true. They ditched the cab at an abandoned gas station near Route 40, wiped it down with bleach from the trunk, and disappeared into the dunes. For days, the search stretched across 80 square miles of desert. Police found a taxi. They found blood. They found nothing else. By September, the Mirage Dunes Casino had been quietly sold to a new owner. The cartel never filed an official complaint. In the case, Nevada State File #09-4287, the Desert Cab Murder, went cold. 13 years later, on a morning thick with rain, Detective Henry Dalton reopened the file. He was 59 now, his back bent and his patience thin. But something in that photo, the half-buried taxi, Doors still ajar, had never left him. He poured coffee over a stack of faded reports and began reading the transcript again. Transcript, Officer Jenkins, August 18th, 2009, 6:12 a.m. We found a cab 6 miles west of Route 40. No cercasings, just tire tracks and a set of footprints leading south. Size 10, dual tread. Henry underlined that line twice. Size 10, the casino theft, never connected officially to the murder, had a suspect with the same shoe size. Back then, that meant nothing. Today, it might mean everything. A week before the file reopened, a maintenance worker in Silver Basin stumbled upon an old metal box while clearing out a condemned motel. Inside, a photograph, 2 men in delivery uniforms standing beside a yellow taxi. Scrawled on the back, "We made it. Ed." The motel manager, puzzled, handed it to police. Henry stared at the photo under a magnifying lamp. Faded ink, cracked edges, but the background, the rocky ridge line, the angle of the sun, matched the GPS coordinates from the 2009 murder site. He called in his partner, Detective Nora Ellis, 35, sharp, too modern for his liking, but brilliant with digital reconstructions. "What do you see?" he asked. Nora squinted. "Compression artifacts on the edge. Looks like it was taken with a disposable film camera. And, meaning it's real, not edited." She leaned closer. "You see that blur behind them? That's not a shadow. That's a second vehicle." In the summer of 2009, there had been no record of any other car near the scene. But Nora's scans suggested something else, a second getaway vehicle hidden behind the dunes. Maybe someone else was waiting. Henry rubbed his temples. So there was a third man, or someone cleaning up after them, Nora said. Eddie Kavanaugh had vanished after that night. His last known address, a storage unit in Tucson, Arizona, had been cleared out in 2010. Liam Brooks? No record beyond a false passport flagged at the border in 2011. But now, with the photo and a partial print lifted from the motel box, the investigation had life again. Archive, Forensics Report, October 4th, 2022. Partial thumbprint recovered from metallic box surface. Match, 71% probability. Edward Kavanaugh, Nevada DMV, 2007. It wasn't enough for a warrant, but it was enough for obsession. Henry reopened every tape, every blurry photo, every forgotten lead. And then, on page 214 of the 2009 evidence file, he saw it. A receipt, dated August 17th, 2009, 5:42 p.m. Location, Desert Mark Gas, Route 40. Item, 1 gallon of bleach, 2 bottles of water, 1 lighter. Paid in cash. On the back of the receipt, a note scribbled in black pen. Vai till Sundoven. Follow tire marks. Henry exhaled, feeling the old thrill of discovery. This wasn't random. Someone else had been there. Someone guiding them, or cleaning up after them. And that meant the murder of Ray Mendoza wasn't just panic. It was protocol. That night, Henry drove to the desert himself. The wind had teeth now, cold against the sand. He parked near the old gas station, now a skeleton of rust and silence. His flashlight beam swept across the concrete floor. And then he saw it, faint, nearly erased, initials scratched into the wall. EK più LB uguale 09. He took a photo and whispered, "You were here." The stars above were indifferent. As he stood there, something glimmered under the cracked tile, a small metal chain tangled around a tag. He knelt, brushing the dust away. It was a dog tag. Name, Brooks Liam T. Blood type, O+. Issued, 2007, U.S. Army, discharged. Dalton pocketed it carefully. "So you did serve," he murmured, "and you learned how to vanish." But there was more, a thin folded paper wedged in the chain. He unfolded it under the flashlight. It was a bus ticket stub. Destination, Nogales, Arizona. Date, August 18th, 2009. Seat, 12A. Henry froze. Only 1 seat purchased. The rain began to fall, a rare storm over the Nevada flats. The water carved rivulets through the sand, like the years washing away lies. 1 seat. Only Liam bought a ticket. Eddie never left the desert. Back at the precinct, Henry spread the evidence under a desk lamp. The dog tag, the photo, the receipt, the faded shoeprint scan. A pattern was emerging. One man escaped, one didn't. But if Eddie had died out there, who buried him? And why did the cartel never hunt them down? He looked again at the scribbled note. Follow tire marks. Maybe someone did. Transcript, unverified audio file. Recovered October 2022. Source, unknown. Male voice, raspy, nervous. He said not to stop. Said if I turn around, I'd end up like the driver. I kept the money safe, but Eddie, he couldn't handle it. You don't know what it's like. 13 years watching the road. Long pause. They're still out there. Watching. The tape cut to static. Henry sat back, the audio echoing in his mind. If it was real, Liam Brooks might still be alive and hiding under a false name. Somewhere near the border. He picked up the phone. Give me the border records from Nogales. August 2009 to 2011, he told Nora. Every Brooks, Bryson, or Kavanaugh alias. Got it, she said. You think he's still alive? I think he's waiting for us to find him. Outside, the rain turned to desert mist. The camera in the precinct's evidence room blinked red, then flickered off. For a moment, the light died, and somewhere hundreds of miles away, a man stirred in his sleep. The same man who once drove a yellow taxi, now haunting the memory of two thieves who thought they buried their sins in sand. Except sand never forgets. To be continued. If you want to know what they found next, subscribe and tell us where you're watching from. New stories drop every day. 13 years after a brutal desert murder, a single bus ticket and a voice on tape reignite a forgotten case. What really happened to the missing thief? And who buried the truth beneath the sand? Part 2. The morning the call came, Detective Henry Dalton had been awake since 4. The storm had cleared, leaving the city washed and quiet. He was staring at the dog tag on his desk when Nora burst in. They found something, she said. Her voice was sharp, a mix of excitement and disbelief. Near Tucson, old motel off Highway 11. Maintenance guy dug up a metal container behind one of the rooms. Dalton rubbed his tired eyes. What kind of container? Ammo box. Rusted shut. Inside, a gun and this. She laid a plastic evidence bag on the table. Inside it, a folded map marked in red ink. Circle, Route 40. Arrow, Raymond, gas station drop. And scrawled beside it, faintly, if he talks, we're next. Dalton stared at it for a long time. We're not just looking at a robbery anymore, he murmured. This was a cover-up. By noon, the motel was crawling with investigators. The smell of dust and motor oil hung heavy in the heat. Dalton crouched near the dig site while Nora unpacked the forensic kit. The serial number on the Glock, she said, matches one of the two registered to an Edward Kavanaugh. Bought legally in 2007. Dalton nodded. So Eddie was here. She hesitated. Henry, there's more. The ammo box wasn't buried deep. Someone dug it up recently, within the last year. He straightened, meaning someone came back. Nora met his eyes, or never left. Archive, Field Notes, October 18th, 2022, 3:47 p.m. Soit composition, disturbée liée à prox. 6 ans. Metal corrosion, mild, 1 to 2 years exposure. Suggests reburial, not original deposit. Dalton's mind began to spin through the possibilities. If Liam Brooks had killed the cab driver, then buried the box, who would have come back to retrieve it after a decade? Someone with a reason to fear exposure. Or guilt. He looked at the red circle on the map again. Raymond, gas station drop. Ray Mendoza, the taxi driver, the first and only victim. Ray wasn't a random target, Dalton said slowly. He was part of the route. Someone marked him before the robbery. Nora frowned. You're saying he was planned? Worse, he was trusted. That night, Dalton reopened the dispatch tapes from 2009. Most were static, fragments of chatter between patrol cars. But one log stood out, a call that had been flagged as equipment malfunction. Transcript, Mirage Dispatch, August 17th, 2009, 3:51 p.m. Male voice, pickup confirmed. Same driver as usual. Headed to drop. Female dispatcher. Copy. Payment cleared. Male voice, yeah, but he doesn't know what he's carrying. Dalton replayed the clip 3 times. The timestamp placed it 10 minutes before the robbery. Jesus, he muttered. Ray was hired by someone on the inside. At 8:12 p.m., Nora's laptop chimed. She looked up. You might want to see this. It was a customs log from Nogales, Arizona, August 18, 2009. One name stood out, Liam Bryson, passport issued from Belize. The photo was grainy but clear enough. It was Liam Brooks, age 30, wearing sunglasses and a nervous smile. He'd made it across the border. But his ticket, the one found in the desert, had been for seat 12A. Customs listed 2 tickets scanned, same departure time. The second passenger's name, Edwin Kane. Ikapa. Dalton felt the chill crawl up his spine. Eddie didn't die out there, he said. He changed his name. The next morning, Nora ran the alias through financial databases. There was Edwin Kane, property owner of a small repair shop in Hermosillo, Mexico. Business registered in 2012. Paid taxes every year. No criminal record. Think he's still alive? She asked. Dalton leaned back in his chair. Alive, hiding, and watching. He stared at the dog tag again, Liam's. But if Eddie lived, then why keep Liam's ID? Why bury the evidence? Nora's voice dropped. Maybe he didn't bury it. Maybe Liam did. Archive, recovered letter, undated from evidence box. Liam, if this goes bad, burn everything. Don't come back for me. We made our choice. We pay for it differently. The handwriting matched Eddie's DMV form. A farewell note. Dalton felt the pieces locking into place. 2 men, one gone south, the other running out of road. But something still didn't fit. The cartel never came after them. Never made noise. That silence was too clean. A week later, Henry and Nora drove out to the Nevada desert once more. This time with a warrant to excavate the site near Route 40. The place looked unchanged, except for a faint circle of tire marks that the wind hadn't erased. They started digging. At 2:27 p.m., Nora's shovel hit something hard. Metal, she said. Together, they unearthed a small steel case, the kind used for cash transfers. The hinges were fused by rust. Dalton pried it open. Inside, a stack of torn $100 bills, a casino membership card. Wakasichi tapi, labilid eka, final. Dalton's hands trembled as he loaded it into the portable player. The hiss of tape filled the silence. Transcript, cassette tape, approximate 2009. Male voice, Eddie, if you're hearing this, then I didn't make it. Liam, I couldn't go through with it. Ray didn't deserve what we did. You think we stole from the cartel, but we didn't. We stole from their banker. He's the one who told us where to go. He said no one would look if a taxi went missing. Said he'd clear our trail. Pause. He lied. He wanted the heat on us, not him. You trust a man like that, you end up dead or buried. I'm staying here. Don't come back. The tape ended with a faint sound of wind. Dalton closed his eyes. He stayed behind, Nora whispered. So Eddie sacrificed himself to protect Liam, or to bury the truth. Over the next week, the FBI joined the reopened investigation. The banker Eddie mentioned was traced to a former casino accountant, Marcus Bell, who vanished the same week as the robbery. He had been laundering cartel profits through fake casino wins. The delivery men were his scapegoats. When the heist went sideways, Bell framed Eddie and Liam, using the cab as a decoy route to stage a cartel retaliation. But he underestimated one thing, Eddie's guilt. Archive. FBI summary, November 2nd, 2022. Bell confirmed deceased in auto accident, 2011, near Hermosillo. Possible alias activity under Marcos Beltran. Financial records indicate offshore transfers from Nevada entities between 2009 to 2011 totaling $2.9 million. The money, almost all of it, had survived. Eddie and Liam never saw a cent. Dalton stared at the photo of the 2 men beside the yellow taxi. Their faces told 2 different stories, fear and hope. All that planning, he muttered, and they were pawns the whole time. Still, Nora said softly, Eddie tried to make it right. Yeah, and he paid for it. In December, investigators followed the trail to Hermosillo. The repair shop listed under Edwin Kane was real, but the owner had died 6 months earlier. Heart failure. age 46. No next of kin. No known associates. In a drawer behind the counter, they found one more envelope. Inside, a faded newspaper clipping about the Mirage Dunes murder. A single Polaroid of Ray Mendoza's children at a memorial service. And a note. For the kids. I owed him that much. Dalton carried that envelope back to Nevada himself. He met Ray's daughter, now 24, at a quiet diner in Reno. She worked nights at a hospital, same as her father once drove through. I don't know why he picked you that night, Dalton said. But he wasn't just in the wrong place. He was set up. She looked down, tears blurring her eyes. Did they ever catch them? One's gone, he said. The other tried to fix it in his own way. She nodded, almost to herself. Then maybe that's enough. The story hit the press 2 weeks later. Cold case reopened. The desert heist mystery solved after 13 years. Headlines ran for a week. Then, as always, the world moved on. But for Dalton and Nora, the desert never quite let go. On his last visit to the site before retirement, Dalton brought a small wooden cross and placed it by the cracked earth where they'd found the steel box. The sky was the same burning gold it had been 13 years ago. He whispered, "You kept your promise," said he. "You stayed." Then he walked back to the car, leaving the desert to its silence. Epilogue. In 2023, the Mirage Dunes Casino was demolished to make way for a new luxury resort. The site plaque makes no mention of the robbery or the murder. But once a year, a small bouquet appears at the spot where Ray Mendoza's taxi was found, sunflowers wrapped in faded paper. No one ever sees who leaves them.